Hey wholesaler friends, has anyone ever given you the advice when it comes to your wholesale contract to just have ChatGPT draft it for you? We're going to show you exactly why that is a terrible idea. So what we are going to do together right now is we're going to go to chatgpt.com. We are going to go in incognito mode and we are going to prompt it with the prompt that I think most first-time wholesalers or most wholesalers would probably put in, and we're going to go through what we get as a result. Let's get started. All right, so I'm in ChatGPT, brand new prompt, no saved prompts whatsoever, completely blind, and I'm going to say, please draft a wholesale real estate contract. Okay, well, I can tell you already I hate it. Just strictly in format, it looks terrible. It is a one-page document. Wholesale purchase agreement is made on this date between seller, address, buyer, wholesaler, no, and an end buyer, facepalm 12 times. We don't want the end buyer on our wholesale contract. As far as the seller knows, when we're direct to seller, we are the end buyer. So we would never want that on our contract. Property address and a legal description. Okay. Purchase price. We're okay there. A little vague, if you ask me. Earnest money deposit. Buyer agrees to deposit the earnest money in the amount of with identifies the title company within X days of execution of this agreement. We'll come back to that. Decent, but it needs a tweak. Inspection period. Buyer shall have X days to inspect the property. During this time, buyer may cancel the agreement for any reason, receive a full refund of earnest money. Missing and needs some tweaks, but okay. Closing shall occur on or before. This is never going to get it done, and I will go over why. Assignment. The buyer retains the unrestricted right to assign this agreement to another buyer without seller's consent. Upon assignment, buyer may receive an assignment fee. I'm not mad at this. I think there's different ways to do it. You're certainly going to create an objection for yourself if you were to do this. Condition of property. Property is being sold as is, no warranties or representations by seller. Buyer accepts responsibility for all inspections and due diligence. I'm okay with that. I think it needs to be said in there. We could make it stronger or we could make it a little bit more wordy, but it gets it done. Access to property. Seller agrees to provide reasonable access to property for buyer and buyer's partners, contractors, or prospective assignees. You lose me there. You were going good, chat, until we got to prospective assignees. We don't put that in contracts. Financial partners, sure. Market buyers, sure. Not prospective assignees, no. Closing costs, number 9, buyer shall pay what? Seller shall pay what? You're asking for negotiations and trouble here when you leave this vacant like that to have to fill something in. I think your contract should clearly identify and specify your expectations in your offer, which would include to be paying all closing costs as the buyer. Default. Okay, I like that she put a default in here. If buyer defaults, earnest money may be forfeited to seller as liquidated damages. We'll come back to that. And if the seller defaults, the buyer may pursue legal or equitable remedies. I love this. It's just not strong enough. It doesn't give enough direction or expectation for a real estate contract. 11, title. Seller agrees to provide marketable title free of liens and encumbrances, except as otherwise disclosed. I'm okay with this. Again, I think we're missing like some meat and potatoes here. I think we've got like a very basic bitch, bottle blonde, kind of a drugstore hair dye contract. And then it just goes sideways for me here. We've got governing law, and this is the entire agreement. And then she puts an assignment addendum in it. I hate this. But I have a hair on my nose. There's nothing more than I hate about this contract than putting an assignment addendum on your contract. You are asking for it. I mean, I guess, does it get it done? Yeah. Does it get it done well? Absolutely not. Some of the clauses are touched on, but I just don't think they give enough. And then some, I think they missed altogether. Where did it say that we could have equitable interest in the property so that we could file a memorandum? It didn't address occupancy or vacancy expectations at close of escrow, which is major, especially when you're dealing with tenant occupied or owner occupied properties. You could have massive hangups at the close of table and you could potentially lose your deal for lack of clarity. Again, I think the fees, the closing costs, close of escrow, inspection, earnest money, those things all need to be very clearly identified, and this contract just does not get it done. So just looking at these two contracts aesthetically, I want you to place yourself in the shoes of the seller. If you were a wholesaler or you were on the phone and you had presented a contract to your seller, which one do you think is going to make them feel more confident about the agreement that they're entering into? This one that clearly looks like an amateur, or one that clearly looks like it's put some time into it. There's a lot of words on the page. It doesn't mean you have to say every word on the page. I have a script that will highlight or summarize each paragraph as you go through it so that you don't need to be afraid of the language. You should understand it and know what it covers, but you should also know that what you say is different than reading it line by line. But let's just look at it. So we've got a nice, healthy title. This is a purchase contract for real estate. Remember, you are a real estate acquisition specialist. You are not a wholesaler. We talk about you. We know that you're a wholesaler, but that's not how you market yourself. You are a real estate acquisition specialist. Okay, try it. I promise you're gonna get further. Purchase contract for a purchase of real estate effective between X and X, seller and buyer, properly filled in, proper legal property address. You do not have to have a legal description on a contract. You could put an APN if you'd like, or a parcel number. It's up to you. Description of the property as is. What does as is mean? It means that it's in the condition that it sits. It doesn't necessarily, it means with all the shit that they have in the belongings or the personal belongings that's in the property. It means that however the property sits currently in its present condition is how you're gonna buy it, and they are not required to make any further repairs for the terms that you have set forth. Okay, closing costs again, clearly identified. Hey, Mr. Seller, we're going to take care of these closing costs for you. This is what you can accept. And encumbrances, she missed encumbrances. You got to outline that the seller is responsible for paying off their mortgage, any judgments in their name, any liens that might come up in their name. That is super important, because if you offer a seller $100,000 and they have a $400,000 mortgage that they failed to disclose to you, guess who's paying for that? You, because you didn't identify that they're responsible for encumbrances outside of their proceeds. Now that's a super severe and drastic money difference, so probably not a great example. But if it was somebody who they were thinking they were walking away with $100,000 and you were going to take care of everything else, it can get confusing and convoluted, and I've had it happen. So just be very careful that you're identifying with your seller, hey, my net offer to you is less any payoffs, mortgages, liens, judgments, and taxes that are in your name. And then depending on how you run your business model, I have some clients that they make the sellers pay TC fees or transfer tax fees, and maybe they take care of everything else. And that's just really up for you to figure it up, and I don't want to get you confused there. Then you're going to go into tax prorations. Another thing that chat missed. How are the taxes being taken care of? Are you paying them back in full for the whole year, or are they only prorated and she or the seller is responsible for their portion and you're responsible for the remainder that you're going to be in the property? Gotta outline it, otherwise it's not, you haven't agreed upon it. Close of escrow we kind of talked about. We always work in business days. Title companies, banks, lenders, appraisers, inspection people, they don't work on the weekends. So if you set your contract for a specific date, which is way worse, or just by calendar days, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're shortening your time that you have to process this, because now you have to cover all of the non-working days. So always use business days in your contract for close of escrow and for inspection period. It's very important. Buyers' continued access to the property. This is that contract clause that allows them to have to still allow you continued access to the property, not just one time. This is what gets you in so that you can show the property to financial partners, potential buyers, fix and flippers, buy and hold renters, anything of that nature. They got to have continued access. And then we talked about this occupancy clause. Now this one's really robust in my contract. Maybe you could do something simpler, but the reason ours is so robust is because we've either run into a situation and lost our ass on it, or we were being preemptive and trying to protect us so that we didn't lose our ass. Everything that's in here is designed to protect you in your transaction and your ability to sell and market this contract. It protects the seller, but it really protects you. So wouldn't you want to have maximum protection in the deal and not be willy-nilly? I know I would. How about you? And then it just goes into detail, a little bit more detail about the condition of title documents. They need to be prepared. Title has to be free and marketable, and what that looks like. And if there's a problem, there's an automatic extension to cover it, so that if they have to do a probate, if there's a foreclosure, or if we're running into an experience where we have a challenge getting a payoff or a tax bill or anything of the nature, that, hey, you are not in the position of providing a clear and marketable title until X happens. And now my contract says that this contract survives that until that's done. It also forces the seller to have to cooperate in clearing any matters that might be preventing the title company from issuing a clear and marketable policy. Tip. Okay. And then I have some extra things in my agreement just because I've learned that they are very important. The seller has to represent and warrant the property correctly in an agreement, and chat doesn't even touch this at all. Now, I do want to specify in this contract, I did like a very basic prompt. I would hope as a person entering into this field, you're probably going to do a little bit more of a robust prompt, and we could actually do that and put in a second prompt and look at it and see what it gives us if we wanted to give it some contract clauses and see if she expands on it. I still just don't believe in my heart of hearts, on Scout's honor, that chat is a good option for a contract. Now, granted, I use her every single day in my business in some capacity, but not to prepare a contract. That's just my line that I don't cross. Now, back to the seller representations and warranties. Seller is the owner of the property. They are not in any other contracts. They have the right to sell this property. Nobody else can prevent the property from being sold. They're not under the influence. They haven't been coerced. There's not somebody holding a gun to their head. You know, all the basic things. Then we'll go into some acknowledgements. What's going to happen in default if the seller breaches, if the buyer breaches. Can I file a memorandum or an affidavit on it? All of that has to be outlined in the agreement. Again, chat did it. She just didn't do it at the length in which I feel like it needs to be said. And then the one thing that I noticed in here that was missing that was very important to me is no oral agreements. That is in almost any contract. And that just says that, hey, what you and I talk about is not superseded by what's in the agreement. The agreement, the contract, supersedes anything that I might say. So if it ain't in writing, it didn't happen, my friend. And then signatures, and then we wrap it up. I believe that the assignment agreement, that option to assign, should always be its own agreement. It should never be affixed or attached to the original contract direct to seller. One of the other things that's missing from this contract that is probably the most important thing of everything we've talked about today is a pre-marketing clause. You guys, if you don't have a right to market the property, what are you doing with the property? You can't put it on the market. You technically can't market your interest to off-market buyers. So unless you're going to be the buyer, that's the only instance in which you should have no pre-marketing clause in there. In any other capacity, if you're finding a tenant, if you're looking for a fix and flip buyer that you're going to assign it to, if you're partnering with a financial partner, or if you're putting it on a flat fee or an MLS, you have to have a pre-marketing clause in there that the seller gave you permission to market their property while they still own it. Huge. You will blow up your deal. I promise you. And then you will come cry to me and I will tell you I told you so. You guys, for most of these sellers that you're talking to, this is going to be the biggest sale and the biggest transaction of their life. Not only are they emotionally attached to it, but likely they had a distressed situation. There are multiple legal entities involved, there are multiple checkpoints, and they're already in distress. Please, I cannot stress to you enough, do it right the first time. It's the difference between you making a 5-figure paycheck or a no-figure paycheck. I have spent countless hours, time, energy, and money perfecting a contract that will get it done for you every time. It dots all of the I's and crosses all of the T's. Don't forget, if you like content like this or you find it valuable, please, I am begging you from the bottom of my left toe to please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, hit the bell so you get notified for new videos. We'll see you on the next one. Love you, mean it.